in electronics and communications, and having vast experience in the field of cybersecurity. He is working as cybersecurity analyst in GE from the last 18 years approximately, and we are privileged to have him today for today's lecture. And we thank you, sir, for sparing your time for taking this lecture today. And he will be covering the topic of recovery, which will include the ransomware attacks, backup processes, etc. For today's lecture. Thank you, sir, and welcome on behalf of CBIB. We welcome you on this for this today's lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, Akshay. Good evening, everyone. So I'll present the today's topic. So these are the today's topic. Today I have to cover the recovery. In the recovery, I will cover the ransomware attacks. I'll cover the backup process, recovery process, and there's some topology and the backup and the recovery rules that we should follow normally in our data centers. So I hope everyone is understood what is the ransomware. So ransomware is a type of malware. Basically, it's a type of you can say software or malware that prevents you when you log into your screen or your computer or your server or any of the machine in your data centers. If there is a ransomware attack onto your data servers, it will prevent you to access your files, your executables, and your useful data from your system. And it will give you the some message that you need to pay to the some ransomware amount. And whenever you pay some ransomware, they will give you the some decryption key to encrypt the your affected files, which may or may not guarantee even after paying that you will get these files will be recovered from the encrypted files will be recovered or not. So how ransomware works? Ransomware can originate from the normally there are multiple ways that our system will be affected from the ransomware. Ransomware can be affected from the websites. Somewhere when you open the website, there are some pop-ups of the advertisements. Unknowingly, when you click that your pop-ups and some for your social engineering, some of your weak websites, and maybe sometimes of your email phishing. So unknowingly, when you whenever any of the weak code enters in your system, it exploit is executed in your system, and after exploit is executed in your system, the downloader silently communicates with the command and control server. Command and control server may be any remote location across, maybe in India and across the world, which uh, which communicates to the malware which is sitting inside your server, which unknowingly you inject in your system by clicking any phishing email, any website, or any other media, maybe your sometimes maybe via your USBs. So the command and control, what command and control server do, they will communicate to the malware which is sitting inside the server and send the encryption request, and encryption key to the your files, data files, and all other important files on your servers, and encrypt these data files. So whenever you open your machines, you receive a message that these files are encrypted. And if you need to decrypt these files, you need to follow some certain set of procedures, which includes paying off huge amount of money. So whenever you pay huge amount of money, they some sends the decryption of key, which doesn't guarantee doesn't ensure that you will decrypt your data. So again, I am repeating in the ransomware. So where in the very first step, how ransomware come into our system? Unknowingly, when you are doing some social engineering, you are opening any website and you are hosting any web server with some weak IS and weak encryptions, and maybe via the email phishing. So you click some the emails which is having the downloader. That downloader sits the and install the malware in your system. That malware connects to the command and control server, which may be anywhere across the world. And that command and control server sends the encrypt the data files on your system. And to decrypt the data files, they ask some amount. So this is called the ransomware, and this is the how ransomware works. And what is the cost of ransomware? So ransomware, loss of data, loss of important information, employees downtime, loss of production, ransomware cost, and even after paying the ransomware code, it doesn't guarantee that you will get your information. IT consultant time and labor. Whenever there is a ransomware attack, definitely you will hire some IT consultant, try to decrypt. So it will include another cost, and it will involve forensic investigation. So you need to do the forensic investigation. That cost is involved, and important data leaks, compliance issues, your reputation is on the stake, loss of the business relationships, and of course, it demands for the IT infrastructure upgrades, overhauls, immediate upgrades. So these are the costs if there is a ransomware attack onto your systems. What are the common ransomware vectors? Social engineering, as I already explained, social engineering, unsafe web browsing. Whenever there is any important web server, even on your computer, you should not go for the web browsing, which is not safe. You should means Google. We even we went to Google something to read some important information. So we should have some know-how that these are the websites, these are the authentic websites, and these are not the authentic websites. So we always we should go for the trusted websites only. Malvertising. What is malvertising? Malvertising is that sometimes when you open a website, there is a pop-ups. There is a pop-up window, and sometimes unknowingly you click on that pop-up window. Means sometimes when you open a website and it demands that you need to, if you need to access this data, you need to update your Adobe, and there is some advertising on that. And you when you click on that, there is a payload on the backside that installed on your system, and then malware communicates to the command and control. Some email campaigns. There is a sometimes when you open an email, there is a attachment in the email. When you open that attachment, so you should be very precautious, because when you normally most of the people using the Gmails, and in the Gmails there are number of updates, upgrades. There are so many things are coming, promotions. So you should avoid all these things. Web exploits. What is web exploits? Whenever in your data centers you are hosting any website, so any weak website may impact the your system, and it will be the website whenever there is a website on the website. So when we talking about the web browsing, in the web browsing, what you need to do, but unknowingly what you do, you click any the advertisement on the website, then it will start the process. It will start the procedure for the ransomware activity. But for the web exploits, what happens in the web exploits, whenever there is a there is a web server on your data center, and it is not secured, it is not on secured, and its IIS is not updated. So on the back side, there are some activities is running which
I'm
download.
not getting voice. Is it common to all?
No, sir. It is clear to me.
Should I continue? Am I audible to all? Akshay, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
I'm okay. So Joe,
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm just comparing the web exploits and the web browsing. So in the web browsing, if there is a website you have hosted in your data center and it is a weak, so there may be some activities going on the background and you may not know. So infected removable media. So if your removable media is affected, so when you infected removable media, uh, install on your PC, on your any system. So there may be the virus, but there may be the some type of malware or may inject on your system. If there is a virus, it will immediately impact your system. But the malware is the more dangerous. Whenever malware is sit in your system, and whenever it will execute and connect to the command and control, there may be the chances of the uh, uh, ransomware attacks. So out of date, end of life, and unpatched vulnerable systems. If there is any system which is out of date or out of support from the, for example, your operating system is out of support, so you'll not be able to patch the latest vulnerabilities or 0-day vulnerabilities. So in that case, it is highly chances that the system will be impacted with the ransomware type of activities. So this is the normally how ransomware works. This is the two snapshot. One snapshot is explaining how the system is. You are invite ransomware on your system, and second, one of the example that whenever there is a infected system, what type of message it will give to your system. So if you go to the recipe for the restriction, so unknowingly, whenever you are doing any web browsing or email phishing, you invite any malware onto your system. So that what is the malware teaching? Hello. What is the malware teaching, sir? Malware teaching. Sir, your voice is not clear. Sir, what is the meaning of malware teaching? Sir, malware is means it's a similar malware is a small kind of software. So which is sitting on your system. So sometimes what malware done, it silently sits on your system and it is having the information of it capture the information of your system and will communicate to the command and control server. Command and control server is basically command and control server run by the hackers. So malware is the executables that are sitting in your system. It will capture the information of your system and send that information to the command and control server for the further process. So means whenever malware is sitting on your system, you may not know that there is any infection in your system. Minutely, malware will sit silently on your system, capture the information of the system, maybe IP address on all these things, and then collect information of your entire network and collect all the information and send to the your command and control servers. For example, what type of information is malware is having? It collects the IP address. It will collect the authentication server. It will collect the information of your antivirus server, and when it will get all the information, when it will get the path to outside path to communicate to the command and control server. It will send the information to command and control CNC server, and further CNC server send the encryption key to encrypt all of the data on your system. So for example,
Excuse me.
Yes.
Our antiviruses protects us from malware effectively?
So means antivirus, normally traditional antivirus, they protect you from the virus kind of things. But if I say ransomware kind of ransomware or malware, antivirus can not only protect the malwares. So for the malware type of activity, you need to continuously monitor your traffic, because But I said malware, see, antivirus what do if anything is hampering, is running on your system and affecting your files. So what the malware is doing, malware is not affecting your system, it's silently working on the background of your system, collecting the information of your system and sending to the outside. So means
Is it not possible that while it is intruding our system, our antivirus software can...
Sir, yes, can you repeat your question again?
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
please repeat your question, sir.
Is it not possible when we are browsing or we are accessing any website that antivirus software in real time detects any intrusion to our system?
See, what will happen? Antivirus, these all things are running on the signature based activity. Means if there is any particular virus onto the market and it is a known virus and your antivirus is updated with the signatures that is capable of entering of a particular that virus, then it is okay. But even if there is any kind of new activities performing, so we call it a 0 day, sometimes 0 day. So for that, your antivirus is not having the signatures. So it is in that case, it is difficult to protect your system in that scenarios. So to protect means antivirus is a very basic thing. So with the antivirus, you cannot control the ransomware type of activities. Okay, so if you see the second snapshot, if you mean these are the, I have seen the ransomware in one of the data centers. So these are the message of the similarly kind of if you read your important files, encryption produced on these computers, photos, videos, documents, etc. Here is the complete list of encrypted files. Encrypted files means your files, all your files are not, you will not be you will not be accessible. All files are not be accessible. All are encrypted, and you can personally verify this. See, what is the meaning of this? The all the information of your system, all the information. What is the meaning of first line? Here is the complete list of encrypted files. Means all the directory list of your system, that these are the 10 files are having on your system. All the list is already with the hacker. So next line, encryption was produced using a unique public key RSA-204 generated for this computer. To decrypt these files, you need to obtain a private key. And from where you will get a private key is available with the hacker. So if you see, to obtain the private key, fix this computer, which is automatically decrypt you need to pay 300 USD or 300 US, similar amount in another currency. And what you need to do, click next to select method for the payment and the currency. So this is a typical one of the example for the ransomware attacks. So I already explained.
Sir, Anil here.
Yes, sir.
I have a
Anil.
question. This is Anil
Yes.
from ERDA.
Okay.
Sir, normally encryption process of any antivirus, say encryption to hard disk, right? It will take a
Right.
lot of time, right?
Right.
So
Right.
why we are not able to detect encryption from any ransomware software or application? Say normally do gradual basis, right? 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, right? In other words, if I say, see, I have 100 GB of hard disk, right? And I am going to encrypt it, it will take a 2 days or 3 days, right? But we are not able to detect that some ransomware is there and it is doing the encryption process. Why it is so? Is it there any alternate way that we can detect that some ransomware is encrypting our data?
See, I have faced one of the ransomware attack in one of the data centers. So how ransomware attack work? So there is some kind of malware silently sitting in our system. So on the weekend, when there is a very less probability, very less accessibility of the system, there is less manpower of the system. During that period, it first it controls the access of your domain servers, and then it got the access of your antivirus server. Means these are the two main servers which control entire of your network. When these two things are controlled or disabled, then everything is in control of your CMC. And because it was on the during the weekend, no one was available to detect the system, and it working silently on the background of the system. So if you're working on a system and at the time some activity is happening on the system, you can detect it. But if anything is happening on the system which is on which you are not working and you are not monitoring. Monitoring means monitoring may be any type of monitoring, maybe your network monitoring, anything malicious activity happening on your network, maybe IPS control or application control. So these things are, if you are working, then you can control these type of attacks. So malvertising, I already explained malvertising. Malvertising, again, whenever you are opening any website, always be cautious that, yes.
I've got one question, two questions in fact. The first one is like you just showed one example wherein the hacker used the public key and private key, and to get a private key, it was asking for a ransom. So do the I just wanted to know, do these hackers always go for public private key system, or a symmetric key encryption also will serve? Also they use, or what sort of encryption technology they use?
They can use any they can use any technology. They can use any technology. Sometimes they give the key, and sometimes what they do, they will ask you for the sample file that this file is encrypted. They will not give you that that these are the public key, private key, symmetric or asymmetric key. They will ask you for the one of the file. Whenever you will send the one of the encrypted file, they will decrypt the file and give it to you. And then further they will ask the ransomware for all the files. So you may not be knowing that is the private key, public key, symmetric or asymmetric key. This can be encryption, can be any type.
Second question is, what role or what how far our IDS or IPS, host-based IDS or IPS solution, or network-based IDS IPS solution will help in avoiding a ransomware attack?
Sir, can you repeat again?
So do you find any utility of or effectiveness of IDS or IPS solutions, host-based, in avoiding a
Sir, you need
ransomware
to
attack?
you need to understand how your IPS works. So whenever you apply the policy, IPS policy, so whenever you apply IPS policy, you apply how IPS policy works. Even IPS policy is signature based. So signature based, whenever any traffic is passing with that policies and filtering with the IPS, if it is matches with the signature, it passes the traffic. So there are two ways. So one way is this. If it is signature based, that passes the traffic if the signature matches. But if the signature not matches, it will, depends upon your policy, it will either will give you the alert, or it will stop, prevent the traffic. It depends upon your totally on your policy.
And normally, for example,
so I'll tell you. Normally, if there is a substation and you are receiving the data from the substation, it always on the detection mode. You cannot put it as the production mode, because if you put it in the production mode, it will sometime it will block your policy. If anything, any abnormally it detects on your system, which may actually not be the abnormal. So whenever there is abnormally, it will give you the alert, and you have to act upon that alert, and then you need to take on the decision. And second way is the protection behavior based. So some policy on the behavior based, it detects the behavior of your network. If there is, for example, there is a traffic and it traffic continuously in your network from a so many months and so many years. And if there is any abnormality in that traffic, it will alert you and give you the traffic that this is not a normal traffic. You need to act upon. But in both the cases, you have to be your alert mechanism is to be very fast, and you need to act so that you can protect your system.
Okay,
Okay.
sir. Thank you.
Okay. So these are some example of fake pop-ups. So normally, whenever there is a vulnerability, if you go to the certain or everyone, they continuously ask you for the Adobe, Chrome, Mozilla for the to update to the latest of their version with the patches. So normally, what we do in our we are having a habit in every system. We install the Adobe. So Adobe is the most vulnerable. If you go on the risk scores and you can install the Adobe, and if you deinstall the Adobe, if you're accessing your system, just check the risk score with the Adobe or without the Adobe. When you deinstall the Adobe on your system, it will drastically reduce your risks. So Adobe and browser means normally in every system. What we do, we install Chrome, we install Mozilla. We are already having the Windows browser. So we can do lot of customization. Uh, we have to do. We doesn't want to put any effort on our system to protect our system, but antivirus, anti-malware, IPS, application controls. These are some technology. Definitely, they will help us to protect our system. But before that, we can do lot many things. So Adobe, Chrome, Mozilla, these are the few very basic things which normally invites these type of malwares.
Excuse me, sir. Hello.
Yes, yes.
I think you have told this about Windows system. Is it applicable about Android also? Android browsers and Adobe also? This thing?
Yes, yes, yes. For Android, if you normally sometime whenever I because sometime because there are so many Android applications. Everyone 90% of the people are using the Android phone. So whenever you are using the Android invites, so it will ask you to install some Opera browser and other browsers which may affect your system. And sometimes you see your phone and it is hitting continuously. So you need to look into that. Why, if there is a normal thing is happening on your phone, what is the reason behind it? What is the application? Means if there is an application running on your system, you just put your system and check the application running on your system and put onto the silent mode if you are not using that. So it is applicable
So
to
through Android browsers also, Android browsers like Chrome, Mozilla on Android, this can intrude to our mobile.
right, 100%.
Okay. Okay.
So I explained you one thing for the web browsing and the websites. So there is a term Angler exploits. So Angler exploits is nothing. It is explaining you if there is a browser, vulnerable browser means you are hosted, because whenever you are hosted a website, and for example you are having a web server and web server is running on a Windows Server 2008 or below. So currently these are the operating system which are not supported by the Microsoft, and you are having the websites on that system. So these are the weak or vulnerable browser because you cannot upgrade your browser. So when you open the website on the web browser and you have not hardened your system, so there may be some activity silently will be running onto your system, which will get the access of your web server, silently install the malwares on your system, and whenever when malware will enter your system, it is not going to means it's not a virus, so that your antivirus will capture. So I did a POC for one of the solutions to capture these type of malwares. So we run a system on the web server for continuously 2 months. Almost after 30 or 60 or 60 or something 67 days, it captures that there is something on your system which is trying to communicate to site. So what I'm trying to say, that you ask how IPS and how advanced solution works. So when there is a malware into your system, it is silently gathering the information in your system, but you are having the advanced tools on your system. So those advanced tool will work only when this will try to execute something. Hello. So these are the Angular experts, which mainly work for the weak websites. These are some examples of the exploit payloads. So these are the some flash. These are the some examples of the Bitcoin flashes. So ransomware may ask Bitcoins, Euro, and whatever the means, they can ask anything. So one thing happened with me. So this is a month of August. So in the month of I'm sharing the one of the things that happened with me. I filed a RTI in the month of February this year for the something for some inquiry. So I filed the RTI with some of the agency in the Bangalore, with the help of agency in the Bangalore. So the amount of RTI was something 10 rupees, and they took the charges of 1,000 or something, but they filed the RTI on behalf of me. And in the month of July, I received an email that your queries, and the email ID was looking like exactly on the same mail ID on which I'm communicating with the agent. And they asked, is your RTI query solved or not? Please click on the below link and give us the response. And the email was exactly looking the authentication. So I was just before clicking that link, I just inquired to them. So they tell them, oh, your RTI is already closed, everything is happened, you need not to do anything. So these are the activities are the payloads on your email. So you need to be very cautious, very cautious. So last year, what happened with me, I was not in India, and there was a message on my wife's mobile that your NPCL amount is due. If you do not pay, it will deduct your electricity. Immediately, my wife called on that number, and they said, we are sending you a link. If you pay immediately, it will not be, there will not be reduction of electricity. Otherwise, your electricity will be deducted. So these type of means phishing attacks in your system, you need to be very cautious on this type of attacks. So these are some kind of email attacks. So maybe everyone is using the Office. So you need to macros are your system. So when you open any file, normally normally what it looks, if we will open any file, what will happen to the system? But normally if there is a macros, and macros are enabled, they may impact your system. So these are some example of there is a Loki ransomware, and these are some examples of the ransomwares. And nowadays, what we are doing, we are a habitual of saving our files on the box, Google box, OneDrive box. So is it safe to save that files on the box? Plainly no. Whenever you are sharing any file or data over the cloud, it can be encrypted, because your communication is means there is no guarantee that by the Wi-Fi or the signal which are using to transfer the data, is it safe or no? So everything is on the cloud is not safe. Everything can be encrypted, and may it sometime in an emergency when you need to retrieve the data, you will see that there is a files are encrypted and there is a message of ransomware. So there are the few ransomware prevention tips. So very first ransomware tips is education. We need to have educated what are the ransomware and how it can be happen. Email, for example, emails, websites, and all these things. If we are using a personal computers, we are using a office, every office having a by default macro enabled. You need to disable the macros. Spam filtering attachment. Since you have to be very cautious whenever there is an attachment, and that you need to apply the rules, blocking rules, application controls. Patching is very important. Your endpoints has to be up to date at every moment. DNS filtering, URL filtering onto your system, means any trusted URLs or trusted DNS that has to be filtered on your network. Software restrictions policies, means in your network you can apply the software restriction policies that these are the executables, or you can put a control over that these are the particular users which can run the softwares, and all other users are restricted. So these are type of policies. Whitelisting application, you can do the whitelisting. So application whitelisting you can do with the normal firewalls. Application whitelisting, application control. For example, your ICCP, on the ICCP side, uh, uh, every normal standard OEM provide you the IPS signature that support the ICCP side. Application nowadays every standard firewall, they provide you the signatures of the IT/OT environment. You can put the signature of, I would say, 104.6.105 for the RT communication, all those things. If you are using any third-party utilities, you need to have control. And file server resource manager. This is very important. For example, in your OT environment and your IT environment, if there is any frequency change from your file server to your IT environment, you have to put secure communication only, and always be secure. Be cautious that always divide your OT into the multiple layers, and the main application server and core server and your IT environment should be restricted to communicate directly. Communicate. So there should be a file server at the demilitarized area, or you can say zone 3 or zone 2 area on your network, from where you can exchange the files from important files from your OT to IT environment. And SSL vulnerability means nowadays we are on the TLS. So make sure that the applications which you are using supported the TLS. They are the TLS supported, and continuously patching. And if you are using the remote access or any access, even for the local access in your data center environment, you can implement the 2 or 3 factor of authentication. first factor is username and password. Second factor, you can implement the access card system on every along with the every workstation, so that your users are restricted, so that you are having the at least 2 level of authentication for your local user, and for the remote user you can have jet TNA type of solution. For example, first level username password, and then maybe token, maybe soft token, hard token, and then there is a facility. For example, I'm a client and I'm accessing a data center from the remote location. You could have a provision that there is a server in your data center which scan me that when am I accessing the system, I'm fully patched and I'm not having the my system from which I am accessing, I'm not having the uh, any kind of malware or the virus. And last much is very important, geo based policies. So geo filtering you can do onto your the perimeter firewalls. You can apply that these are the countries which are blocked. Anything is coming, any request is coming from that country is blocked. So these type of policies you can apply on your network. Last but very important, backup, backup, and backup. Everything in your environment has to be backed up. So backup is the only thing which will help you in case of the disaster. So ransomware topic is, I finished the ransomware topic, ransomware attacks. So if anyone is having the question of the ransomware, I can answer. Otherwise, I'll continue to the next topic.
Good evening, sir. Myself, V.N. Das.
Good evening. Yes, sir.
Sir, how it can be ensured that the backup is not in that cannot be encrypted by the ransomware?
Continuous testing, sir. Continuous testing. Means whenever you take the backup in your environment, you need to test the backup, or in the backup you need to have backup. There are 2 or 3 ways to encrypt your backup. One, your backup tool is having the self capability to encrypt the data. But when you encrypt your own data to prevent from the ransomware attacks, then it will put the load on your network. And secondly, the storages on which you are putting the backup, that can also be encrypted, so that in case of any ransomware attack, it will be saved from the ransomware kind of. So can I take 2 minutes break? Just 2 minutes break. Water break. Hello. Next topic is backup and recovery. So the objective is backup, recovery consideration, backup, and I will explain you the backup and recovery consideration. operations, backup topologies, and backup technologies. So what is a backup? Everyone know backup can be done in many ways. You can backup your data for the recovery purpose. You can or you can create a mirror image of your data, and you can create a bare metal recovery of your data. Means there is a backup in which you copy some files. There is a second type on which you exactly mirror your hard disk onto your which is plug and play kind of things. And third, you take the bare metal recovery. In the bare metal recovery, you take the backup of everything starting from the OS. For example, you install OS on your system and then install some kind of softwares on your system, and then use some kind of customization on your softwares on your application part. So what bare metal recovery does, it take the backup of everything. Everything means everything starting from the base, from OS to the from OS level to the application level. And whenever you restore the backup will be restored from that particular day. Okay. So when we talk about the backup, there are the few things that need to be determined before backup. So there are very two important terms in the backup, that is the RPO and the RTO. RTO is the recovery time objective. RPO is the recovery procedure objective. Means, for example, you have implemented the backup solution on your environment. Whenever there is a disaster on your environment, and then whenever you restore the backup on your system and again make your system live. Okay. So disaster may be anything, maybe system crash, or there is any kind of ransomware attack or anything. So total duration when your system is encrypted, and your total system is when your system is recovered. So this is called RPO, total time you require in case of emergency, total time required to rebuild your system from the scratch. This is called the RPO. And there is another term RTO. What is the required time? Means required time means the time that you can uh, uh, that you can uh, uh, time. For example, you are having a two application servers. If one application server down and one first of the application server take load of the second application server, and you can sustain for some times without having this application server in line. Okay. For example, you can manage whenever this particular system is not in your system, for example, few hours or few minutes. That is called the RTO. So RPO, always RPO time should be less than or equal to the RTO time. So is it clear what is RPO and RTO? So I'll again explain the RTO. RTO is what is the base minimum required time so that you can manage your system without the without the system which is affected system. And second point, it is very important where and when restoration to occur. Means if your system is any system is impacted. For example, X system is impacted with some kind of ransomware or some type of any issue. So where you are going to restore that system onto the same system, because that system may be required for the forensic analysis. So you should have provision so that in case of the emergency, that system may be available for the further diagnosis, and you can restore the system onto the another system to make your system live. And do you have any analysis that what are the frequent restore requests? Means there may be the two or three different type of servers. One servers on which barely there is any change, but there is a second type of application servers on which you continuously need a restore point. So these things you need to be noted down, that these are the important server, but the changes are very light. This is the server in which changes are very frequent. So what I'm trying to say here, you need to take 2 or 3 set of backups. So uh, uh, there is a critical server, but there are very less in the critical servers. It doesn't mean you need to frequently backup that server. But there is a non-critical server on your system on which there are very frequent changes, then you need to take very frequently backup of that server. So these are the things that you need to be note down before creating your uh, backup and restore plans. And normally what we do in our environment, we do a lot of activity. We do copy a lot of softwares in our systems. So this will unnecessarily increase the cost of the storages. So you need to be very cautious what things need to be backed up, what things are that are not need to be backed up, so that, for example, you can maintain a drives on your system on which there are the files which are there are some executables which need not to be backed up. So while doing the backups, you can exclude those things. This will save you the backup costs. And the frequency based upon the criticality and the changes in the server, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, that you need to be backup. How many copies, and what is the retention period? For example, retention period is the period. For example, this is the month of August. I'm taking a backup of server August. I'm taking a backup in September, October, November. So what is the retention period? For example, if I put a retention period of 1 month, it will keep the copy of the backup of the last month only. Was October. If I have a month of October, it will keep the copy of October, and then September, not the August. It will purge the August month backup. So these are the retention period that you need to define in your backup terminology. So other consideration for heterogeneous platform. Heterogeneous platform means you need to take the backup. You need to create the multiple copies. And multiple copies on the heterogeneous platforms. So backups on the uh, magnetic media, backup on the online storages, backup on the offline storages. So depends upon the criticality of the server. You can have multiple copies of the backups on the heterogeneous platform. And you also need to plan in case of DR. For example, we are having a incidence of the fire incidents in our one of the data center at the one of the site in the month of June. So, but the problem was that all the backups were residing in that server only, in that data center only. So if there is a backups, you're taking the backups. So backups, in case of the small issues, in case of the server failure or an ransomware, that can be used. But in case of the disaster type of activities, you should have backup on the remote, one copy of the backup on the remote location. And that needs to be continuously refreshed. So number of copies and the compression ratio, these are the other factors. So these are the factors that will help you to save the cost of the backup. So backup granularity. So for example, you have set a backup that the full backup of the system every Sunday, my backup activity will run and it will take the full backup of the system. And then when next Sunday will come, it will create another copy of the backup. And when the third Sunday will come, it will create the another third copy of the backup. Depending on the retention period. So retention period can be, you can allocate with the number of backups or number of days. For example, I have said that in my policy that my backup, I need only last 2 backups. So when the another third backup will be created, it will delete the older backup. And there is a, if you created a retention policies based upon the number of days or number of months. So for example, you have created a backup policy for a 1 week. So it will delete or purge the backup which is older than a week. So you are taking the backups during a week, and but there are multiple changes within a week. So you can have differential backup. So differential backup means Sunday you have, for example, Sunday you have taken the full backup. Monday you have did some changes. So when you put a differential backup on every day, on Monday it will take the only differential amount of the backup. And when Tuesday will come, it will take the differential amount of the backup from the Sunday, not from the Monday. So this is the differential backup. And then third one is the incremental backup. So incremental backup, what is the increment on every day? It will back up the increment only, not the like the differential backup. Okay, I'm again repeating. Differential backup is the backup. It will take the differential amount of backup, the differential amount of the data from the full backup. And incremental backup, it will take the differential amount of the last backup only, not from the full backup. So if you see restoring from the incremental backup, when you restore from the incremental backup, first it will copy the full backup which you have done on the Monday. And then Tuesday you are having the some increment. Then it will restore the Tuesday increment. And Wednesday you have the some increments. And Thursday it has a some increment. So I mean, if you restore the Sunday's image on the Friday, it will copy the full backup and then it will do the incremental backup of the restore the incremental backup of the only days. In the differential backup, it will restore the full backup and then it will restore from the last backup only, because the last backup is the cumulative difference from the full backup. So if you see here, Monday, there are, for example, there are 3 files. Tuesday, there is a 4th file. If you put the differential backup, and the Wednesday, it will backup the 4th file and the 5th file. And Thursday, it will backup the 4th file, 5th file, and the 6th file. So when you restore the backup, it will restore the day 1 backup, file 1, 2, 3, and it will restore the last backup, which is having the 5, 4, 5, and the 6. This is the differential backup. Backup methods. Cold backup or offline backups, hot backup and online backup, file backups, point-in-time replica backup, metadata backup, bare metal recovery. So cold and offline mean what you do whenever there is a system in production and you're taking the cold backup. If your system is, you're taking the backup, it will take half hour to 2 hour to 3 hour, depend upon the size of the backup. During that period, that particular system will not be into the production because you have disconnected that system from the network, you have shut it down, and then you are taking the backup. Port or online backup is the backup that you are not removing the system from the production. System is in operation and you are taking the backup while system is in production or the online. So open file and open file agents, what they do, you are taking the online backup with the some, for example, some of the database backup. So they put, for example, your database is continuously growing and I'm taking the online backup of the system. So what online backup do? Put a log. For example, this is 1905 hours. So they put a log on the database on the 1905 hours and take the backup. So your backup is online backup, but it is having the last image of 1905 hours. Point in time replica. Point in time replica means, again, I'm taking this particular point of time. It will create the exactly replica of the time. And in case of the failure, you can put into the operation of the exact replica of that particular system. What is the metadata? Metadata is nothing. For example, you are creating a 10 numbers of sets of the backups. When you create the backup, there is a, it will create a tag, date, time, date with the timestamp, and this size. So first backup with this date, with this time, and this is the size. So if you create the 10 files of the backup, it will give you the 10 different date and time and step. And maybe you have done something, and there is a, when you done something, there is a, you need to think that I have done something wrong and I need to restore it back of that data of that particular day. So at that time, metadata is very important. If metadata is not maintained, you'll not be able to know that these are, you are having the 10 backup, but without the metadata, how you'll be know that these are the backup of this particular time and these are the backup the this information, this backup is not having this. Bare metal recovery, I already explained. Bare metal recovery is the recovery when you restore the complete system including OS, including your drivers, including your application and all the customization. And if you are having restored any data on your system. Sir, your voice is breaking.
Sir, can you explain this metadata once again?
So, metadata, for example, what you do, you create a multiple copies of your data on your system. So, what is the purpose of creating the multiple copy of the data? What is the purpose of taking the differential and the incremental backup on your system? So one way that you are creating the full backup, number of you have created the 2 or 3 full backups copy. Okay. So one purpose of that is that you are having the lab, for example, your one image is corrupted. So if your one image is corrupted, you are having the another image. You can restore from the another image available on your system. But for example, you have done something on your system. You are doing some database activity on your system and you have done something wrong. And this is a continuous activity on the day 10 that you know that, oh, I have done something wrong. And from the last 10 days, I'm doing this activity wrong. Now I need to restore the data of that particular day. So what metadata? Metadata, whenever you creating an image, it will put a put a date and timestamp and the size that on this particular that these are the on this particular date and time you have taken the backup of this particular system with this size. So that in case you need to restore 10 days that backup 10 days old data, you are having the all the information and you can restore from that particular date only. Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So in the backup, there are mainly backup architecture and the process. There are clients, backup clients. For that, backup clients means any server, application server, or any machines. You need to take the backup of that particular machines. Backup server is a server. So when you are taking the online backup, then it is a necessity to have a backup server in your system. So backup application continuously running on your system and taking the online backup. And in case if you are taking the offline backup, in that case, backup server is not required. You just take the offline backup and keep it somewhere else. And third is the storage node or library where finally you store the data. There may be tape library or maybe some additional auxiliary online storage. So we see there is a application server here, backup server here on which backup application is running. And finally, in the tape library, you are storing the data. This is the metadata. Means metadata, you are having all the data with the information that this particular date, this data, this particular date, this data. So I already explained backup operation. Backup operation start and schedule of the backup process. So backup operation means it doesn't mean that every time you need to sit on the server and you need to start a server. You just schedule. What you do on the backup server, you install the backup application on your server and you install the agents on the client machine and you schedule a backup that I have on that 26th of August for application server. I have to take the backup of the application server in the midnight. So normally, what schedule we should follow? Normally, backup we should do in the odd hours when the load on the network is the minimum. So you have to define the backup accordingly. Whenever there is a bare minimum activity is happening on your network, maybe mostly in the nights, weekends, and on the alternate basis. Means, for example, you have having the two same application servers. You can assign a backup policies of application server 1 today night, and then you have assigned a application server of backup policy of application server in the tomorrow. Similar kind of things. Backup server retrieves backup related information from the catalog. Catalog is the catalog where we have created the catalog. I have created the catalog in the backup server. That this is the schedule, and in this schedule, these are the particular clients which we have to start the backup. And there are so many other information are in the catalogs. For example, you are having a 1 gig of your network. Okay, so 1 gig of your network. Sometimes there is a huge amount of data. If you give the free bandwidth, it will choke all of your bandwidth. So you can do, there is a term throttle. You can throttle on your bandwidth of the network. So you can assign that this 50% of the use only 50% of the available bandwidth on the network. So what it will do, it will a bit slow down your backup process, but it will not choke your net. Secondly, there may be sometimes there issue in the client servers, and it continuously retries and taking a long of time. And you can assign that after this particular time, stop this backup data. If this, for example, I'm taking a backup of the 100 GB server, it should approximately will be completed in the half hour or maximum 1 hour. So you can put in a policy that if this server of this backup is completed within 1 hour, then it's okay. Otherwise, terminate. Then backup server instruct the storage node to load the media in the backup device. So backup device may be your storage drives and your tape library. So, and second step, and the next step, it will instruct the client to send the metadata to the backup server. When you send the metadata, that it will it will wake up your server and it will give you the size and the timestamps and all the other information to the backup server that these are details. Now with this timestamp, I'm going to start data. So for example, there is a online backup. When it initiate the request and in the online backup, because your online backup means your server is in the production. So at that particular time, it put a logs. It put a blocks backup agent, and they are smart enough that they put a log and take the backup for this particular instance only. After that, if there anything is storing in the server, it will not take the backup of that server. So it initiated the backup on 17 hours, means backup is available, whatever the available on your client machine till the 17 hours only. And then backup slide in the fourth step, backup client starts this when all communication is over. It starts the sending the data to the storage nodes. Basically, storage nodes and the backup server. These are the if there is a small data center, these are the same component, the same machine. If it is a mass storages, then it is a different components. And finally, storage after taking the backup is stored into the backup device. And after taking the backup, all the information along with the metadata and all these things will be stored into the backup servers. That backup is completed. It will give you the tick mark, generate an alert. Backup started this time, backup stopped this time. This amount of data is backed up and everything is fine. If there is an error, it will give you the information and the or the error message that backup is not done with this errors, and you can send that error from your syslog server and alert to your system. But if you are having an alert mechanism or syslog environment, syslog in your environment. So restore operation is just reverse of the backup. So for example, you have to restore. So what it will do, it will scan the catalog, identify the restore, and identify the restore and the client that will receive the data. Means I discussed with you, for example, there is a server, you are doing some activity. Server is an online server, but you need to restore that server from 2 days older backup. So it will communicate with the server and instruct the storage node to load the backup media. From it will capture the data. So that, for example, you have instructed that I need to restore this particular data. So of this particular client. So it will send the instruction to load the media from the backup media and then communicate and send the information to the clients that I am ready to restore the data and you and send this information to the client machine on which he is having the you need to restore the backup. This is the online process. Again, metadata comes into the picture. Again, it sends the restore. Restore means when I say metadata, so metadata is having all the information that this particular amount of backup data you are going to restore at this particular time. So all the information will be saved. Finally, backup server is updating the catalog and a backup operation started. Upon completion of the backup, again, it will update its catalog and the metadata and store the information in the backup server. So any question in the backup and recovery? Any question? If any, let me see if there is if anyone is having any question, he or she can write in the chat box. I'll read it and communicate to them. Okay. So what we learned as now, what are the purpose of the backup? What are the consideration for the backup and recovery? What are the methods? Full, differential, incremental backup, and what is the process? Till now, we have covered all these steps.
Sir, I have a question. As you
Yes.
told, this in case of full backup, incremental backup, sorry, differential backup and incremental backup. What I think the for backup will be higher in case of incremental backup. Will it be so?
Backup size will be higher. Backup size will be
For incremental backup. For incremental backup, the time required will be less than for differential backup, and then last for full backup.
Yes, you're right. Time required for the incremental backup is less, but time required for the differential backup is high. And on the other side, space, even space and time for the differential backup both are higher. For the incremental backup, space and time both are the lesser. So normally, by schedule, I do always incremental backup in my system to save the space. Because what we do, we maintain 2 or 3 full backup copy, and then we do the incremental backup. But if you go for the restoration in case of the differential backup will be fast as compared to the if you do the restoration in the incremental backup. Got it? You have to compromise in some way.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So there are last 2 topics. I have running a bit fast, I know. Content is less. I don't know really. So direct backups, there are the 3 topologies. Direct backup, LAN backup, LAN free backup. These are very, very important topic, LAN and the LAN free backup. Normally, we face a lot of challenges in our network and the mixed backup. So first we go to the direct backup. Direct backup is nothing. You are having a storage device which is directly connected to your client machine. For example, this is your backup server. This is your client machine. You need to take the backup of this server. So what you do, you connect this directly tape drive or any USB drive directly to your system and take the backup of this system. So this is a very, but this process is very, for me, this is a very good process. But the thing is that you need to do a lot of, you require a number of drives, and you need to do a lot of, but this will, what is the benefit of this backup? This backup will not overload your LAN. So directly data will go directly to the backup device, and communication from the backup server to the application or the client server only for the metadata, which is in the KB only. So LAN based backup, for example, this is a switch. And on this switch, you are having your backup server. On the same switch, network switch, you are having on your client. And on the same network, you are having your storage or tape library. So when you do the initiate the online LAN based backup, first it will creates first it will creates the data on the storage using the same switch, using the same LAN that is your, which is your production LAN. So we discussed about the network throttling. For example, you have, because when you take the backup of the bulkier size, it will occupy your network, and it is taking the backup of your. So see, what is the challenge? Challenge here is that for the application server, you this is the example of one server only, and your network you are having on maybe your 20 or 30 servers. When you're taking the backup of backup server, what is my goal? That I need to take the healthy backup of the system, and I need to finish the earliest backup activity of the server, so that it will not impact my application operation of my application server. But the challenge here is that the moment it will start the backup activity, it will overload your network. It may impact your production because you are using the same network. So these, normally every data center we use the LAN based backup. These are the same network we are using for the production traffic, same network we are using for the backup traffic. And the very important point, see, here I am showing the one LAN network, but you see in your data center or in your environment, there are multiple LAN segments. Okay. But the backup server will be only sitting on the one backup LAN. So when it will initiate the backup, so if you see there is a firewall or any security firewall, it is controlling the one of your network, or you can say it is a bottleneck of your network, so that it can control and monitor your traffic. So when there is a production traffic and you have initiated the backup traffic onto the same firewall, see what will happen to your network. All the concentration of the firewall and the throughput of the firewall focuses on the traffic, which is backup traffic, which is the major traffic at that time. Now, what is important here? There are two parameters important here. It will increase the cost of your security device, which is your firewall, because maybe for example, your network, one Gbps firewall with the 1 Gbps throughput is sufficient for your network normal production traffic. But onto the same traffic, if you put the backup, that may be very less for you the network traffic. So it will increase the cost. It will increase the means it will increase the some worry points that whenever backup is happening, because mostly what you do the backups in the odd hours, and if you do the backups in the odd hours, If anything happens on your network, that you don't know. So these are called the LAN-based backup. So there is another terminology, LAN-free backups. So if you see here, there is a application server. This is again a expensive affair, but this is a one-time investment, and there is a backup drive. This is your production traffic, LAN traffic. Maybe your production is normal traffic controlled by the firewall, different segments. On the back end, you have created a separate fiber channel, fiber cell. Here you have connected a storage and the tape library, and all the servers connected to these FC network, FC SAN switch, all the server which you want to take the LAN to backup. What will happen in this case? Backup will be initiated from the backup server only, but the backup will be stored directly in the backup device via the SAN network. It will not hamper your LAN network. It will not overload your LAN network. So what are the other chances? For example, so how firewall IPS and all the other things, 0-day type of activities is, for example, there is a traffic on your network, right? Production traffic passing via the firewall. So what firewall do? It continuously monitor that this is my normal process. This is not my normal process. In the normal process, only the traffic is passing, means 1 Gbps traffic is passing. But when you initiate the 100 Gbps of traffic, so firewall or IPS or any other network, but it will detect there is a abnormality in the network. So at that time, there is a confusion that abnormal traffic is due to the backup or some other activity. If you do the LAN free, then it will be a totally segregated. Your totally your production network is totally different. Whatever the policies that are running on your network, it will monitor your production traffic only, and the fiber backup traffic will be directly stored into the tape library without affecting your production lines. This is called the LAN free backup. So mixed backup is nothing better. So whenever because when you put the LAN free backup, definitely it will almost double the increase the cost, or almost double the cost of your network. So what you can do, you can optimize that cost. For example, there are the 10 servers. Out of 10 servers, you see these are the five servers, which are the bigger servers and the critical servers, which is having the bigger size of data. You can create a LAN free for that. And there are the few servers which are having the very less data. Means, for example, if I say in my network, for example, if I say the ICCP server in the SCADA environment. So ICCP server is a least, it's a critical server, but there are very less changes. Means if you put a 100 GB of drive and 50 GB occupied, it will never be going to be 60 or 70 GB, unless until you do not put any data size. So for that server, there is no need for the LAN free backup. You can go for the LAN based backup. For example, a archival server in your network. Archival server is having the very huge amount of data. So with the archival server, you can go for the LAN based backup. So these mixed kind of technology that you can use in your network to save the cost. But the server which is having the huge data, you should go for the LAN free for that to effectively monitoring and performance of your network. This is the part. Okay. Now, where to backup? So normally what we do, D to D, we take the backup disk to disk, and D disk to tape, and D to D, D to T. When you can copy the data disk to disk. Disk to disk means you are having a 10 servers in your network and you are having the storage, but the storage size is fixed. And you copy the data directly to the storage. And then you are having the data tape library and you are copying the data onto the tape library. And third, you are copying the data from the disk and then from disk to the tapes. Now, what is the benefits and the pros and cons of all things? I'll explain. There is another terminology, virtual tape library. Backup to tape. So this is the traditional way of copying the backup. So earlier we were using the tape drive. If we see in the in the 90s or before that, we use the tape drives in every server, and we used to backup of that servers into that particular tape drives. These are the low cost, sequential, very slow of restoration process and very slow of the backup process. If you go for the backup to the tape, these are the some pictures of the tape library. If you're using the, the tape is a single tape drive. Tape library is the device in which you are having the one drive with the multiple option of the tape. So that, for example, you are having a 10 servers. So what you can do, and there is a tape library of 12 tapes. So you can assign the tapes from 1 to 10. This particular one tape is for the one server. Second tape is for the 10 server. It all depends on your policies. For example, there are two tapes. So and your servers are redundant. So tape one is holding the backup of the all server one. Tape two is holding the backup of all server two. It all depends on your policies. So these are the some basic functionality how there is a robotic arm. Robotic arm is used to pick the tape, move the tape, and put into the drives. So there is some physical mechanism that is inside the tape already. So tape library limitations I already explained you. So means tape library is the very slow process, and means MTBF is very less for the tapes. The data which you copy into the disk can stay for the longer, but the chances of failure of the tape due to the aging is high as compared to the tapes. Means wear and tear, may the due to the wear and tear, shipping, handling, all these things. So backup to the disk, more reliable. So normally, what we do, what we can have combination of both. Combination of both means storage and the tape library. For example, there is a server in your environment. What you do, you create a two set of copy of images of your server into the storage, which is a local. But we discussed about the ransomware. So ransomware, what ransomware do? If there is a ransomware in your environment, ransomware, what are their primary target? First target, they will target your domain servers, Active Directory or LDAP servers. And then there is, if there is any endpoint servers in your system, then they'll target endpoint servers. And the third, they try to target your storages, because all major data is on the storage. This is a drawback in the storage. If there is a ransomware type of attack, they will try to encrypt the data which is on the storage. So in that case, if you are having the tape library in your environment, because tape library, when you put the data in your tape, after it is on the tape, it is offline. So if there is a ransomware attack, from where you will be recovered? You will be recovered from the tapes, because the storage data is also, in case of the ransomware attacks, storage data is also. So you saw there was an attack on the ransomware attack of the himself. If they were having the backup policies in place and they were having the readily backup, some offline backup in somewhere else, they could have restored the system in a day or two. But they didn't have the backup policies and the offline backups. So it took a, I don't know exactly what happened. I'm just giving we all know how much time it is required to restore them. Normally, if you restore the backup, depends upon the size of backup, it should be restored in the hours if you are having the backup. So at that time, particular time of activity. So what I'm trying to say, if you are planning for the backup for the disaster kind of activity, plan the backup, plan the disk backups for the immediate storage, plan the offline backup for the disaster kind of things, and locate the backups in some safe places and some fire safes and in some remote areas to avoid the backups for the disaster activity, for example, fire kind of. Disaster, ransomware is also a disaster. If there is a fire incident, it is also a disaster. So ransomware, whether it's a ransomware or it's a fire, from where you will recover the backup? You will recover the backup from the offline mode. So immediate restoration solution is storage, and disaster restoration solution is tape. So backup restoration planning is very, very important for every type of network. If I say, I mean, if there is a ransom, how someone asks how we'll protect the data. So there are ways to protect the data during the backup data from the ransomwares. Backup tools are having the capability, they encrypt their own data while backing up of the system. But when you run the encryption, self encryption to save the data, it will slower the process. It will half the speed. It will increase the cost. And you can have the storage. Storage is having the capability to encrypt the data. Means I explained you two ways to save the data from the ransomware. One is the while copying. One is the backup tools are having the capability. So you can ask the backup OEMs provide the features of the encryption while copying the data. And when you're procuring the storages, you can check whether the storage can encrypt the data or not. So this is just one example of restoration from the disk and tape. So see, whether means disk and tape is okay, but disk is required or not, tape backup is required or not, that you have to define in your policies. So immediate requirement, immediate restoration, answer is this. This in case of disaster, answer is tape. So these are the some normal comparison. Okay. There is a this is the last term that I'll explain. There is another term, deduplication. So deduplication is a feature which is available in the storage. For example, you are having a 100 GB of data, and you are creating another copy of 100 GB of data. So if there is a feature in the storage of the deduplication, what it will do, it will map that this is the data, this is the same kind of data. It will do not create the copy of the same size of data. It just put a metadata that this is the copy of data is available. So there is no need to create the backup of again and again. So it will save the storage space. So this is okay. This topic is over from my side. So I covered the ransomware attacks, but how we can save from the ransomware attacks. Mean no one can guarantee that if we do the 100% protection, we are safe. But we can try to save ourselves, and we can put the best policies to save the ransomware attacks. How to take the backup? What are the backup topologies? What are the backup technologies? And what are the policies and the procedure that we should adopt while creating the backup and the recovery plans? So, if anyone is having any question from this topic, please do not hesitate to ask me. I have noted down my email ID and the phone number. If anyone wants to ask the question later, you can message or call me anytime. I respond over that. Akshay,
Yes, sir.
Akshay, I have completed the topics.
Okay, sir. If there are no further questions, then we may close the today's session. Are there any questions from the participants?
Sir, I have one query regarding this direct LAN free and mixed backups. So this RAID configurations we used to tell. So whether that RAID falls under any of these backup
Sir,
categories?
RAID. See, we are talking about the backup.
Okay.
So backup is a process that you are copying some data from the some machine and storing onto the somewhere, and somewhere where onto the storage, right? So when you're storing the data on the storage, there are number of drives. So
Yes.
how you are configuring that drives, that is the RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, RAID 6. So means I can give you some know-how on the RAID, but RAID is implemented to
It is a
avoid
stacking mechanism. Like
you can say it's a kind of stacking mechanism to avoid the failure into the particular device.
okay.
So for example, you are having a storage, and if RAID is not implemented, so you have implemented the RAID 0. There are 10 drives over 900 GB, and you are thinking that the 90 GB is available. So if one drive is crashed, whole data is crashed.
Okay.
So you have storage. What you do, you implement the RAID. So RAID give you the resiliency of the failure, that if your one drive, two drive, or three drive fails, it will not impact, but it will reduce the size. For example, there are 5 drives of 100 GB. So actual size is 5 terabyte. But if you implemented the RAID, maybe you will get the 3 TB or 3.5 TB of data. Rest, where is the rest? Rest is for the your resiliency purpose. In case of the failure inside the any tape, so here you're having the you're not having any impact on your data.
That is restricted only to the storage equipment. like where we
Yeah,
are
storage and even server you can implement. Server you can do,
okay,
for example, in server, for example, you are having application server. So
Okay.
storage you are using a 300 or 500 GB of data. So you can implement a RAID 1. So means
Okay.
this is a mirror image.
mirroring.
So if there is a
Okay.
one drive fail, you are having the readily available of second drive.
Okay. Okay. sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I think Akshay, it's better. I think we can close. I have written my
Yeah.
email ID and phone number. You can
Okay.
put me a mail or number. Call me if there is any question.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. So we may close today's session, and thank you, Manoj sir, for your lecture today. We thank you for your expert opinion on the topic. Wonderful hearing. Thank you so much. We may close the session.
Thank you, Akshay.
Thank you.